This is George Dionne of the Rock is George podcast, and this is a KNAC.com exclusive interview with Judas Priest guitarist Richie Faulkner discussing his latest project, Elegant Weapons. If I knew absolutely nothing about Elegant Weapons, how would you describe the band's music to me?
That's the hardest question in the world. To sum up your own music, it's really tough, man. I can only tell you what I hear in there and what I get from it and what I put into it musically when I was writing the songs. I mean, there's obviously Hendrix in there. There's Judas Priest in there. There's Black Label Society in there. There's Thin Lizzy in there. You know, there's Sabbath in there. All those bands are part of my musical makeup, and there's more of them in there for sure. But that's what I hear, and it's something that you can't really deny. You know, it's who you are, so be proud of it. And it's unmistakable what those influences are to me. You know, so when you put it on, someone might get a different perception, but that's what it is to me. I mean, Blind Eating the Blind is like UFO, Black Sabbath, Thin Lizzy, you know, all that sort of stuff. And coming from a legacy band, obviously that band is part of the DNA as well. But it's kind of how to, you know, all those influences, hopefully we can deliver them into the future to a new generation when these legacy bands, you know, come to the end of their careers.
Am I correct that there's two different versions of the band? There's a band that appears on the album, and then there's going to be a touring version of Elegant Weapons. That's
right, yeah. I was fortunate enough to have Rex Brown from Pantera and Scott Travis from Judas Priest on the record, along with Ronnie Romero singing. I put the songs together and got them all, you know, into an album format during COVID, when no one was doing anything. You know, the lockdowns were happening, and it was the catalyst really to get those songs together. And I had some time to see what I had. So at that time, I got Rex and Scott on board, and they were fantastic at what they did. They really brought the vision to life. You know, I wanted something that sounded what it sounds like. But when it came to touring, obviously Rex is in a little band called Pantera, and I think they're going to do quite well, you know. And Scott couldn't do the live date. So I got Christopher and Davey in, you know, great friends of mine, great musicians. And I mean, Davey I've played with for over 20 years. We used to play in bars and clubs around England and London, playing covers, and everything from Van Morrison to Black Sabbath. We played together, so our musical relationship is a strong one as well. Christopher's the same. Christopher actually played the early demos for this record. I couldn't get Scott into the studio at that time, so I asked Christopher if he could come around and record what became the demos for this record. So he was intimately connected with the band as well, you know. So when it came around to selecting guys to be in the band and, you know, what I'm going to take out on the road, there was no other choices really.
Were you the primary songwriter for most of the music, because this is pretty much your brainchild?
Mostly from the musical point of view, yes. Lyrically, I'm not a big lyric guy. You know, when you record yourself on something and you listen back and it just sounds awful, that's the same reaction I get from writing lyrics. I mean, I can start something off with a phrase or add to stuff, you know, lyrically, but as far as the bulk of the lyrics are concerned, I'd rather stick to the music and let someone else handle that. So when I first started getting these songs together, I turned to a good friend of mine and producer, Tommy McWilliams. I've worked with before with Lauren Harris, and when we started off, he was the one that took on the bulk of the lyric writing. And when someone else writes it, to me, you interpret the lyrics a different way, and it can be interpreted 1,000 different ways. So I like that. I like, you know, they sound different to me, as you know, than if I did them myself. So that's how we did it, and the songs evolved like that.
Now, you mentioned sort of the music that influenced you comes out in Elegant Weapons. Your singer, Ronnie Romero, seems to be that guy that's going to keep legacy going forward, because he's been a member of Rainbow, and he's Michael Schenker, and he's kind of keeping that legacy sound alive? Is that why you kind of lean towards Ronnie?
You kind of hit the nail on the head, really. We're all in legacy bands that are, 30, 40, 50 years in. And when I spoke to Ronnie initially, he totally got that idea. With Rainbow, they're not going to be around forever, and he got the concept. And Ronnie is a modern singer, but he has that soul of a classic, quote unquote, singer. Dio, just to name one of them. But the great thing about Ronnie is when you hear Ronnie sing with Rainbow, singing a Dio song, you obviously connect it with Dio. When he sings original songs like this, and I think he'd agree with me, more of the Ronnie Romero comes out. So again, he's taking those influences from the past. But when you hear stuff like this, it's something new, something fresh from Ronnie that we haven't heard before. And hopefully we'll hear more of it as more of the Ronnie Romero comes out,
Absolutely. The name of the new album is Horns for a Halo. It comes out May 26th on Nuclear Blast Records. You guys have a single out now, Blind Leading the Blind, animated video that goes along with it. Is that something that you put together, or did you kind of get an artist to get that concept on the screen?
We got a Polish videographer called Natalia. I can't remember her surname. Her name was Natalia. I think it's on the credits on the video. But she really brought that concept to life. Really, it was an obvious concept of what the song's about. The blind leading the blind. Sometimes there are people that take the mantle of the leader and they lead people, but they don't know what they're doing. Sometimes that works out, but obviously it's more dramatic and more interesting when it doesn't work out. And in the video, the leader, it's a bit more political in the video. The leader is a pig and he's got the jewels and he's eating rich food and stuff like that. But at the end, people see him for what he is, and he's just a pig, and he doesn't really know what he's doing. And that happens a lot. I mean, even in my position, I'm a new dad. I've got a daughter. She's almost 3. And I'm trying to lead her, but I've got no idea what I'm doing either. You know what I mean? So it's not always a negative thing. But as I said, I think it's more dramatic and just strikes more of a chord if it was represented in the political way. And she did a great job bringing that idea to life.
What song are you planning to release next before the album's release?
Well, we've got a song called Do or Die. We just shot a video for that in Nashville, Tennessee. And that's coming out next month, if I remember rightly. And I think there's another one coming out around the album launch day. So that'll be the third track. We've got Blind Leading the Blind, we'll have Do or Die. And I think the title track's coming out around the album release day. So, we just shot a video for that as well. So there's a lot of stuff coming out from the band, and it's exciting to see what people think of it.
Does the title track, Horns for a Halo, have the same duality as the Blind Leading the Blind, whether it could be a good thing and a positive thing? Because you describe Horns for a Halo as the way that we justify doing bad things.
That's basically it, yeah. I thought, when we were doing the lyrics for that one, it was an interesting concept because we all do things that we know are morally questionable, but we do them anyway. I mean, you see people driving around in their cars making some mistakes, you know what I mean? But they always blame the other people, or they justify their actions because we have to. I mean, we have to do that. Otherwise, we'd drive ourselves nuts. So it's all about really, if you turn up to the hypothetical pearly gates, you turn up to be judged or whatever, will they see your horns or will they see your halo? Have you done enough good things to kind of hide the horns that we all have? I thought that was an interesting concept, and chose to name the album that as well.
Now, you've mentioned that you're not a big acoustic guitar guy, kind of not huge on the balladry, but you put in a slower track on the album. Ghost of You came out pretty good, I think, for a guy that's not into that kind of style.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm not really drawn to acoustic guitars. I'll use them as a tool on a record to get a certain effect, but they don't attract me in the same way as an electric guitar does. I mean, even Ghost of You, I think that's all electric guitar. There's actually one guitar on the whole record, and and I'm working with Gibson at the moment on a signature Flying V that's coming out this year. So I used that guitar, and it was able to do everything. The cleaner parts and the heavy parts and the solos and all the textures that I needed came from that one guitar, which is amazing, really. But again, if it called for it, if it called for an acoustic guitar, then sure. But it doesn't. In general, it doesn't start off ideas for me.
Band's name, Elegant Weapons, is a reference to a musician's tool, yours being the Gibson Flying V that you just mentioned. Is this a guitar that's been with you most of your playing life?
The Flying V has been there since I was maybe 16, something like that. I've always been a big Les Paul guy. Since joining Priest, there was an opportunity to bring out the V even more, because it's Judas Priest. How can you not, honor that legacy of the visual as well of Priest, but the V that is the signature V is the latest version of the V that's evolved through Priest with me. So Gibson were great enough to make me a V at the beginning of my career with Priest, and that's kind of I've gone through my career with it. It's taken on different pickups and different design elements and stuff like that. So this V is the latest, a representation of that. So it's very much a part of my career in the last 13 years for sure.
Andy Sneap produced the new album, and he's pretty close to you with his work with Judas Priest. So that must have been a no-brainer to bring him in.
No brainer, absolutely. I mean, I wanted to. He's a guitar player as well, so from a production and engineering point of view, he knew where I was coming from. He knew where I was coming from stylistically. He knew that I didn't want it to, and it couldn't really be a Judas Priest album. There'd be no point. So it had to be sonically different, and the ideas had to be different enough to stand on its own 2 feet. So he got that concept. So again, you're absolutely right. It was a no-brainer. I mean, I'm close to Andy as well. We live on the road, most of last year and the Firepower tour. So you can trust them. Sometimes producers are great when you can trust them to say that that's not good enough. You want someone to be able to say, do that again. You don't want a yes man, and Andy's not a yes man. So that's what you want when you're doing something like this, because you lose all sense of creative objectability. It's hard to be objective when you're so close to something. So having someone like Andy to say, no, that's rubbish, do it again, is a godsend.
Elegant Weapons is going to be heading out doing the festival thing this summer. I saw that you guys were rehearsing on Facebook. How are the rehearsals going?
Really well. It's exciting. It was always a priority for me not to be a band that just released some music on an album and then that's it. I wanted to be a band that makes records, that evolves, that goes out on tour, plays shows, and has a live identity as well. That's a big part of it for me, So we've got some shows coming up in Europe in June and July, and then we're looking at stuff beyond that as well, putting stuff together. Maybe getting a great support tour somewhere, or maybe in the States. We'll see what the future holds. But again, it was that priority of being a living, breathing, touring, evolving, heavy rock band. And because you never know what the future's going to hold. And we're putting the foundations down for album number 2 now. And when you start putting down an album, you might have an idea of what it's going to be, but it becomes something. It becomes its own creature. And that's the same as a band. You start off as 4 guys making music, and then all those influences combine to create something else that you weren't even planning. So that's an exciting thing for me.
Are you planning to play the album in its entirety, or are you going to work in some Priest songs and some Romero stuff?
That's a great question. At the moment, all we've got is the album's worth of material. So depending, if we get signed up for a half an hour set or a 35-minute set, then we can play all new material. But if we get, if we do a longer set, we might have to put some in there. And Lights Out is a cover that's on the record anyway from UFO, so we might play that one. And And who knows? We might play some Rainbow or some Priest or some Uriah Heep. Who knows? So again, it's an exciting time, and hopefully, why not pay homage to the bands that put us there in the first place? It's a good idea.
You mentioned that you're laying the groundwork for the next album. Is the live version of the band going to be the one that appears in the next album, or is it too early to say?
No, it's going to be the band as it is now, and we've already, as I said, we've rehearsed and we've done a couple of live shoots and recordings, and already the band has kind of evolved into something new, and it's evolving. So I'd like to keep it the same. It's a great energy. I mean, Ronnie's fantastic as a singer, but the other musicians in the band, Davey Rimmer, Christopher Williams, they bring their own flavor as well, and it's working. So yeah, Christopher put down the drums to album number 2. And I'm going to put the guitars down at some point, and Davey's going to be on there, and obviously Ronnie Romero. So it's working. So why mess with it?
Must be a great relief getting to this point in the album's development, because you had a health scare in 2021. You had a aortic aneurysm. So the first part of the question is, how you doing since the surgery that followed that? And, how are you feeling at the point you are now where you're back, you're making your own music, you're still working with Priest? It's kind of like you're back on track.
I appreciate you asking, man. I'm doing all right. If anything, there's something in my mind that keeps me. Maybe I shouldn't be like working this hard on stuff. I mean, my other half, she says all the time, take a break. There's a lot that goes into putting out a record like this. But I recovered, and then we went back out on tour last year with Priest. I came back, put down some rhythm guitars for the Priest album, finished off this record. Everything that goes along with that, and then we're starting off record 2. We finished, we're working on the Priest record still, but it gives me focus. It gives me, maybe I should slow down, but I don't know, it kind of gives me a target, and maybe it's the case of you don't know how long you've got left. I don't know, and if that pushes me on in a positive way, then great. It's not doom and gloom. It's not like, oh, we haven't got long left and we're all going to die. It's not that. You never know what's around the corner. So do all those things that you want to do, and put them out there to your best of your ability, because you don't get a second chance. So yeah, it pushes me on and gives me a target and an inspiration, really. And I'm in the studio at the moment. I was just playing along to a couple of new ideas. It doesn't stop, man. The video creation, the photos, the interviews, but it's a positive thing, and long may it continue, really. And hopefully I'll stay healthy for all of it.
Absolutely. Is there a timetable for the next Priest album? I'm sure everybody's asking you, and I'm sure you're very limited on what you could say.
Yeah, I don't know exactly when. I know when we would like to have it out. It's still Rob's still doing a few vocal touch-ups here and there. The majority of it is finished. And then, you've got things to consider, like the turnaround on vinyl nowadays is 6 to 9 months. So even if we finish the record today, as I'm talking to you, and we go it to the record label, we're looking at 6 to 9 months before the vinyl is ready. So that's a bit of a challenge to contend with, but it's almost finished. It's sounding great. We've got to select a track listing and album artwork and stuff like that, which is exciting. So yeah, it will be. It's coming up, but I can't tell you exactly when, because I don't actually know.
I think we can all guess it's at least after your festival run this summer.
Yeah, we wanted to, with Priest, obviously when the Aussie thing went by the wayside, apart from that this year, I don't think we were doing anything. We were taking a year off to have a break. We've been in some major territories around the world with Priest, so it's good to have a break sometimes so we can go back and revisit them fresh. We're not doing the same tour, we're not doing the same songs, so taking a break is fundamental sometimes in a band like that, to not sort of oversaturate your fans. They might have enough of you. They might be like, oh, we've had enough of this lot. you know, so it's good to take some time off. But that was perfect for Elegant Weapons, really, to get the album out and kind of put the groundwork down for new songs and a new band and new identity, so that when we do go out again with Priest and other respective bands, that groundwork has been laid, so we can return to it later on and carry on where we left off.
Those are all the questions I have for you today, Richie. The new album, Elegant Weapons, Horns for a Halo. It's out May 26th, Nuclear Blast Records. Fantastic. It's definitely its own sound versus everyone that's in the group. You should be very proud of it.
Thank you very much, George. Thank you for your support, and hopefully see you soon when we tour your neck of the woods.